Hello, and thank you for joining me tonight. I go by Lune, INNATE, and this video is hopefully relaxing, slightly educational. We're just going to be covering the 5 primary emotions in terms of traditional Chinese medicine. This is something you see with Qigong a lot as well, or, in that practice too. And from that teaching, there are 5 primary organs: the heart, which is associated with the color red and fire; the liver, which is associated with the color green and wood; the spleen, which is associated with the color yellow and earth; the lungs, which are associated with the color white and air; and the kidneys, which are associated with the color blue or black and water. Now, these areas are known to harbor, you could say, or have something to do with I can't articulate it quite right, but harbor is I guess best way to say, or focus, similar to how we use the primary chakras to guide us on our energetic readings. You'll typically see that in traditional Chinese medicine, these emotions relate to these 5 organs. So specifically, the heart is associated with hyperactivity, like excessive joy. The liver is associated with anger. The spleen is associated with worry, you could say, or pensiveness is another way that they put it, but I go more with worry or stress. The lungs with sadness or grief, and the kidneys with fear. So in a recent Reiki session that I did with someone, and this has happened before, but it certainly was inspired by a recent Reiki session to, make a video about this. There are ways that we can work with these areas, and it is certainly something that you might want to do on, as often as you feel drawn to, just like you meditate, just like you might do some other sort of practice for yourself. There are sounds that we can make which work to relieve these areas, to release the anger or fear or anything, that might be excessive or too much. And I talked about this in a recent video, but the best way that I can give you to discover whether or not these are out of balance or if there is something going on there would be to check in with these emotions, make a little list of them and see how you feel. If you feel discomfort, if you feel these things present and if you're uncomfortable, that's typically like the easiest sign that you can go by. You can certainly see someone who does acupuncture or is trained in traditional Chinese medicine. You can do dowsing, like finger dowsing, or use a pendulum to consult your higher self to establish whether or not this would be appropriate for you. However, there's definitely no harm in any of this. It's just these sounds that I'm going to try to teach you. I have to just give a shout out to Makalesi, who I just love her channel. She has amazing content and shares some really expansive and really out there information for everyone. She's very knowledgeable and definitely does her research. So I will, during my time of discovering her channel, this was a video based on this as well, was something that I found on hers. So it was one of the first times that I had heard these sounds. I was aware of the colors, aware of the elements, but the sounds was certainly something I had never heard before. So I definitely want to give, some credit to her for inspiring me to look into it back then. So first we're going to focus on our hearts and the sound that we're going to be making. And you could do this along with me, or you could save it for another time. But it's like a something like that. It's pretty simple. All of these are pretty simple. That's what I love so much about it. It's so practical. I'm sorry if you hear the wind right now. It's very loud outside. So what would be a good idea would be for you to focus on your heart space. Envision the color red. And as you you might want to see like a red mist, this excess just coming out and dissipating and just going into the world to be dealt with, to be worked on appropriately or put to good use. So it's good to take a deep breath. Again, focus on the heart. And you can tell by how long you can hold this whether or not that is an area that might be an issue for you. Now, I certainly get very excited sometimes. I spoke about this recently, so for me to have an issue there, it makes perfect sense. Just gonna work a little in your heart to help clear it. So the liver is associated with the emotion of anger and the color green. So as we're focusing here, focusing on our liver, it's helpful to, again, as we do the exhale, to focus on the color green, this mist being released. So the sound is kind of sounds a bit nasally. So the spleen is associated with the color yellow and worry or just pensive. Reminds me of my grandfather, the word pensive. But so as we're focusing on our spleen, it's helpful to, again, just release that color. And all these colors that we're releasing, it's not necessarily a beautiful color. It's more of like this, I mean, I love mustard yellow, don't get me wrong, but just like more mustardy, less gemmy, and more slightly muddy, slightly excessive or hyperpigmented, I guess is the way we could kind of put it. So the sound for the spleen, and I'm going to focus my energy on your spleen as well. And the sound for the spleen is like a oh. So we're going to exhale that yellow. Oh. Just brushing these excess emotions away from you to help. Okay. So the lungs are associated with grief, sorrow, sadness, and the sound that we make for that is like a C, something like that. A lot of S. And so when we're focusing on the lungs, I'm actually going to put my hand behind you, just kind of guide it to help it to come out. So it's just C. While I find each of these organs to sometimes pop up in different sessions that I do, I would say it's the kidneys that I feel the most, and they are associated with fear. Those are represented or tied to the color blue, and the sound is the more difficult one to make. It's like a tree, so it sounds kind of funny. So I'm just gonna put my hands on the back of you, behind your hips, into your lower back a bit, where your kidneys are. Just gonna send some Reiki to this area It's not easy. So those are the sounds that can benefit us and help us to heal and work with these areas of our body and these emotions. I will say I definitely would suggest, you should talk to your doctor. Don't take me as a medical professional because I'm not, but to consider, let's say if you have excess anger and it seems to be an ongoing thing for you, to do some type of liver detox or add some cleansing foods to your diet, even if it was just that. For kidneys, water, flushing, making sure you're drinking lots of water. There might be some apple cider vinegar or something along the lines of that. And just maybe look into herbs or other ways for you to help heal or support these organs in a physical sense, as well as the sound healing, sound balancing that you can apply to them too. I love about this is that it's something that you have to participate in. It's not like you can just listen to it. You have to create the sound yourself so that there's a resonance within the temple of your body. It works that way, and be sure you're focusing specifically on each organ, working with the color, maybe even the element if you're drawn to it. I will say that in doing more research for this video, some people say the sounds differently, so I don't want to say there's no rule, because there's definitely a general theme to each one, but you might want to do some more research if you feel like, something you'd like to look into. Certainly, please do. And thank you so much for watching. I hope that this has served you in some way. I very much appreciate your support. So from the bottom of my heart, as always, namaste.